States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. Council, have you had a chance to review the minutes from September 17th regular meeting and the exec session? If so, are looking for any changes or a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any of both meetings? Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes have been approved. All right. Changes to the agenda. If anybody has any changes, if not, we'll look for a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda's approved. Guests and open forum. Jacob, are you a guest? Anybody for a guest and open forum? All right, hearing none. We will move on to committee reports. Joint planning.
Joint planning met last Tuesday. We just had a boundary adjustment and an ordinance update.
All right, planning commission.
You want to do it?
I can do that. Planning Commission, we had 3 items on our agenda last night, which happen to be 3 items on our agenda tonight, 9A, B, and C. So we will save discussion for that. Just a note for council, for staff and public too. We also talked about the, as you know, we've been reviewing the code. We've been doing the code review for the last year and a half. And so we had some discussion last night on everything's starting to come together now. So there's going to be we're talking about kind of how to disseminate that information. It's a lot of information, and so what would be the kind of best ways to disseminate that to everybody? What would be the important pieces for people? And then also, what does that calendar look like? So we're going to have some exec session things coming up here for us. So we'll have one in October, I believe. We'll have one in November. There's also going to be some Planning Commission. We're gonna have a special meeting for Planning Commission, so just kind of watch for that, of course. The idea being, if all goes without issue, the idea would be that we would be adopting it before the end of the year. So
When is the open house going to be again?
the open house, it'd be the week of November 11th through the 14th. They haven't set an exact date, but that would be we're looking to do an open house. If you remember, a few years ago when we did the Northern Meadow open houses where we had different areas, it wasn't really come in and have a presentation. It was more, we'll have maybe different areas. So if you have a question about, I don't know if we'll break it up into like areas of the code. So maybe if it's residential, we'll have an area you can go there. If it's commercial, maybe an area you can go there. Something, we'll have them kind of broken up into stations like that. And so it'll be more open house style. You just come in, you can ask as many or as little questions. Some people might just want the general. Some people might want to get real detailed on it. We'll have opportunity for both. So.
And there'll also be an opportunity for input.
Absolutely, yeah. This is obviously before it's this is being done before it's passed for a reason. So that's the if there's provide input, definitely. So be watching for those. Anything else we missed from Planning Commission?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Police Department City Hall project update.
Footing foundation work is done. Compaction has been going on the last couple of days. Block work now started along the PD garage side. And then subcut for the drive around the north side of the building for the garage entrances. And then on-site stormwater work has been going on. So we'll start seeing some more visible progress here in the next couple of weeks with the block going up.
All right. Any other committee reports that we missed? If not, we'll move on to public hearings. 8A, Pine Street Vacation, Jacob Sanders.
Thank you, Councilman Hendrickson. And if you want to open the public hearing, because this is a hearing.
Absolutely. We'll open the public hearing at 5:05 p.m.
Perfect, thank you.
So for you tonight, and I'm gonna pull this up on, a couple images up on screen here so you can see them, is the proposed vacation of Pine Street. So Mr. Rademacher, representing Rademacher Family Partnership, who is the owner of the parcel of Bill's, where Bill's Superette currently sits, and then also Howie Zimmer of Beck's Pub, who owns that property to the west of Bill's. So both of these individuals applied and petitioned to have this street vacated. At the last city council meeting, city council called for a public hearing, which are required to vacate any sort of street. The couple things to note in this, this would be vacating the entirety of Pine Street, which goes from the edge of Second Street right-of-way down to First Street. And so this is in preparation for redevelopment, and we wanted to ensure that the public had an opportunity to kind of see this image. So this is what, you know, the current proposal is of the concept, so it's a concept plan at this point. But you'll notice the Bill's gas station over here, the fuel island, making sure that for safety purposes, this is actually a really good option for the city. It really ramps up public safety. It reduces conflicts that are occurring, you know, on the corner there of Sherburne and First. It also helps out with less flow through traffic to Second from First Street, and you're just making for more of an overall safe site. So for development purposes, it makes sense. For the public safety, it makes some sense. And the staff looked at it, engineer has looked at it, Public Works and Community Development. And we're making the recommendation to vacate these. A couple things on the utilities. There are utilities that lie under this road. City utilities, so water, sewer, and sanitary. Those cannot be capped. We looked at that as an option. Can you cap them off and just abandon them in place? But because Beck's Pub actually has sanitary services that go to that, and then the water also comes past it, you can't do that. So as part of this, we're recommending that we retain easement underneath the road to ensure that if something should occur, we have the ability to go in there as the city and fix the issue. The other thing too, as part of these applications, we also send these to utility providers. In this case, this is Excel's service area, and then Midco and Windstream, which are the two internet providers. They're used, as of the date of the RCA, we had heard from Excel, we did hear from Windstream. Their utilities appear to be outside, they're in Second Street, but they're outside of the Pine Street. So Excel Energy in this image here does have a few in this red that are close to Pine Street. So we would ensure that the easement that's retained would make sure that that encompasses that, and then work with also with Mr. Rademacher on and Mr. Zimmer on making sure that they have utility access that's needed for them from those private providers. As far as Midco, we're not sure where they're at, but we anticipate if these are somewhat in the area, that's probably going to be in the general vicinity somewhere. But the resolution allows for that easement to be adjusted to where it needs to be to make sure that it fits what's necessary for the site. So a couple of conditions to point out is in the resolution. This is a little more complex vacation than normal. It's not just as easy as getting rid of the road. So as part of the resolution, if council should approve it, there would be a couple conditions. One, that before the vacation becomes official and recorded, that the petitioners, which are both of those, any easements, you know, at the dimensions that are required by the city or the attorney engineer in tandem with those providers, we would work to do those, and those easements just must be given to us and accepted by the council. So you're vacating the street, you'll be re-accepting the easement for the drainage utility. So you're not giving anything up, it's just back and forth. And then the petitioners also must provide the city with a copy of any ingress egress. So there likely is going to be some ingress egress easements needed to ensure that they're not landlocked, especially the Howie Zimmer's parcel, by the vacation of the street. So that's another thing that we would work with to get a copy of from the private landowners, because we'll have to work together on those. And then once those are received, then any sort of easements would be recorded. At that point, staff could get those to the county auditor to publish notice that proper proceedings have been completed. Then once the street vacation is recorded with the county, the biggest piece is how do you convey the land that's underlying that you've just vacated. In that case, it's half and half. It would likely go to both parties. Anything they privately do with it would be on them to kind of disseminate after that. But once it's recorded, an approval of this resolution would allow the mayor, city administrator, attorney, to draft, sign, and execute any documentation necessary to ensure proper conveyance of that property to the landowners in accordance with statute. So those are, just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that and the public's kind of aware of those conditions. And so with that, we're seeking a motion and a second approving resolution 2486, which also includes exhibits showing the road with the conditions. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Does Beck's, they don't have an address, their address is not a Pine Street address, is it?
I think currently, I'm trying to remember if it's First or Pine. I think it's First. Because there is a road there. If you look at this, there's a current kind of jog-in off Pine Street that takes in, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but right about here.
Would make sense that it's First Street
Yeah.
because the original liquor store was on First Street.
Right. But it does face Pine. Most of the traffic comes in through Pine a little bit and then onto the site. And one thing to note too, at this point, it's mountable curb. So a lot of people actually use Pine to just kind of jump the curb and go into the property. So,
I Googled it. It's First.
thank you.
Yep.
Alrighty, does anybody wish to speak on this matter? And you've obviously worked with Jacob quite a bit and you understand everything he's talking about there.
I'll answer any questions if anyone has any, but waste your time.
Tony on the spot.
Well, if nobody's got any questions, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to close the public hearing that was seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is closed at 5:12 PM. Council, we have resolution 2486 before us. How do you wish to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2486, resolution vacating Pine Street southeast in Becker, Sherburne County, Minnesota.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
Just
Thank
think how much less gas we're gonna use plowing snow.
One thing that was of note, if you look at the very last page, if you like, I'm a history buff, so I love looking at this original picture here, and you can see what we call eastbound Highway 10 is actually, it's listed on First Street in this original picture here from 1904.
It is
or
pretty.
whatever.
Do you ever, for the public, if anybody's kind of nerdy about that, we like it as planners, but it is an awesome plat. It's all hand drawn, handwritten, hand done from 1904. So,
Yep.
It's wild.
thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. Okay, next is, item I-8, 9A, Breakwater Technology Future Land Use Map Amendment, and this would be Mr. Austin Peterson.
Council. So first up tonight, we have a future land use map amendment, which we received from Breakwater Technology. That complete application was to amend the recently annexed parcels to change them from agricultural to industrial 3. The applicant is requesting to do this because it aligns with the Becker 2040 comprehensive plan, goals and strategies, in addition to other findings that we put in resolution 2487. As an aside, the future land use map currently designates the area to the east of those properties as industrial, so it does support that. And amending this would also support some of the future long-term plans that the city has in that region for industrial expansion. Last night, Planning Commission did have a public hearing on this last night, and staff, I'm sorry, one second. And yes, staff is looking for a motion and a second adopting resolution 2487, amending the city of Becker future land use map to include those 3 recently annexed parcels.
I'll just maybe make a note, we did not have any public comment at the,
Yes,
in the public hearing last night. Did staff, you did not receive any prior?
Prior to, we did not, no, as well as at the hearing last night.
All right.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2487, amending the City of Becker future land use map to include the 3 recently annexed parcels.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. Breakwater Technology Rezone. Again, Mr. Austin Peterson.
Yes. So this one is those same 3 parcels that we just discussed. Again, Planning Commission did hold a public hearing last night. We didn't receive any written comment prior to or anything at the meeting last night from the public. And this rezone would be rezoning these properties from agricultural to industrial 3, as we discussed with the future land use map that is in alignment with Becker 2040 comprehensive plan. Rezoning would align with just the area and the future land use goals of that region. So with that, we're looking for a motion and a second approving ordinance 288 second series, which is an ordinance revising section 11.12 subdivision 8 of the City of Becker City Code, adding number 36, which would rezone it from industrial 3 to agricultural, as well as a motion and a second approving ordinance 288 second series for publishing purposes.
Alrighty. Any questions from council? Otherwise, how do you wish to proceed?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 288 second series, revising section 11.12 subdivision 8 of the City of Becker Code, adding number 36 rezoning property to industrial 3 from.
I'll second that.
Can you repeat that?
No, I'm glad he stopped me where he did.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that one passes, and then you want to make a
You might
second
as well
motion?
keep on going.
Yeah, I'll motion to approve ordinance 288 second series summary for publication purposes.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. And it's the Austin Peterson channel, just like the president's on
Yes.
every channel. Can't get away.
Yes.
Take
My
us
last
away.
one tonight is a chapter 11 fence height amendment, or adjustment, I'm sorry. And so the background on this is city staff had received a few requests for people looking to put 6-foot fences in on residential corner lots. Currently, by city code, they're at a 30-foot setback, meaning people couldn't put them really in their front or side yards as often as they would like, or really as far as they would like, which kind of limited their space in their yard. And so that's the reason we're here tonight. Last night, Planning Commission did have a public hearing. There wasn't anything written, but we did have a speaker there who had just a few concerns about basically amending the ordinance because they had some concerns that other people had been compliant with the current city code, and they wanted to just voice their concern about those people, as well as some safety concerns. But we did reiterate that it is, in their particular case, as well as any corner lots, they would need to stay out of the site triangle, and staff would always review that before approving that permit. So really what we would be looking to do with this amendment is change the setback for those 6-foot front yard fences to go from 30 feet to 3 feet, but again, specifically on those corner lots.
Second front yard fences.
Yes, sorry, yes. Their secondary front yard. And so with that, staff is looking for a motion and a second approving ordinance 289 second series, which is an ordinance amending section 11.21 subdivision 15.I of chapter 11 land use regulations of the City of Becker City Code, as well as a motion and a second approving ordinance 289 second series summary for publishing. And then I can stand for any questions.
The only thing I'll like to add is people that were speaking weren't really opposed to the ordinance so much as the fact that they had to do something different because the ordinance hadn't been changed. And then they did have voiced some safety concerns, which I'll be looking into with Public Works.
The safety concerns were more particular to their lot, not
Yeah, it was
necessarily
to their,
ones that, they have a unique
specifically,
lot.
specifically to their situation. And I'll be talking with street department on that later. And if they don't do anything, it's not a concern. So.
Yep. Okay.
But we did approve this to come to the council, so.
So we have a motion to edit our favorite chapter, chapter 11 here. So how does council wish to proceed?
I'll make a motion approving ordinance 289 second series, and ordinance amending section 11.21 subdivision 15.1 of chapter 11 land use regulations of the city of Becker Code.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Becky on the second one as well?
Motion approving ordinance 289 second series summary for publishing purposes.
Second.
Motion and a second on that one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Both actions passed. Alrighty. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you.
Administrator and staff reports. 10A, call for a public hearing, utility charges and weed grass removal charge certification. Mr. Ebenstein.
Thank you, council. Here tonight to call for a public hearing for consideration to certify unpaid utility and weed grass removal charges. A little bit of background. Staff is currently working on compiling a list of utility accounts greater than 60 days past due. And these items are to be brought to council at a public hearing for consideration to certify to the county for collection with 2025 property taxes. Staff are proposing a public hearing at the regular meeting on October 15th. And we will plan on mailing out the notices tomorrow with the date and time for that public hearing to those residents. On the weed and grass side, staff had sent grass and weed violation notices to residents in June and July of this year, and they were given 10 days to mow their properties prior to public works staff completing the work on their behalf. And then residents were mailed invoices for any work that was completed. And then to consider those would also need a public hearing. With that one, we only have, I think, four properties for maybe $600. On the utility side, we're probably right around 100 residents, just a hair over $20,000 on that piece. But we'll have more detail when we have the public hearing. But with that, would answer any questions. Otherwise, we'll look for a motion and a second to call a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, October 15th at approximately 5 p.m.
Alrighty, thank you, Mark. Council, how do we wish to proceed?
Make a motion, we set a public hearing for Tuesday, what was the date again?
October 15th?
October 15th, for utility charges, weed and grass removal.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
That passes. Thank you. Alrighty, 10B, deed grant agreement approval. Mr. LaRude.
Council members, the city earlier this year applied for a community energy transition grant through the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, and we were awarded $770,000. That grant will be combined with the congressionally directed grant of $3.8 million to finish the study work that'll be needed to construct the it's the grade separated interchange at Highway 10 and 25 and County Road 52 and Burlington Northern and First Street and Edgewood Drive. That whole area will get studied and squared away. This project will take it right up to the point of being able to go out for bids with the project. We have been meeting with District 3 transportation staff as well as state aid staff. We've worked with Randy at SCH. He's preparing the memo, which is the first step in the process. Once that is done, the city will be leading the planning effort. We prepare a request for proposal. It will come to the council after it's been reviewed by the state. And then we will select an engineering firm. The council will select an engineering firm to lead us through the whole process. It's estimated to take 2 to 3 years to do that. And so with that, the deed portion of the project requires a grant agreement, which was sent by the Office of Energy Transition. City attorneys reviewed it, have recommended no edits. And so staff requests that the council adopt Resolution 2485, a resolution approving a CET grant agreement with the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. And I'll be happy to answer any other questions you have.
Question I ask with all grants, any strings attached that may have?
No strings attached. The only stipulation you'll notice in there goes to the end of 26. I have told the staff it's likely to go to 27. They do allow for a one-time extension of the grant, so we will have no issues there. But that is the only stipulation. This is all gonna be right-of-way land, so there's nothing to attach that would encumber it in any way.
Right on. Alrighty, if anybody has any questions, otherwise look for a motion.
You asked the most important one already.
If you have any questions or about the strings attached.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2485, approving the CET grant agreement with the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed. That resolution passes. All right. Next item, Police Department, City Hall Furniture Plan, also Mr. LaRude.
City council members, the city's been working with Fluid Interiors on a furniture plan for the police department and city hall project. The phase one primarily for this one, which is the police department, the new entrance area, and I believe that is it. All the other offices are in phase two. And so we met, they developed what we were looking for, which was included in the packets, some of the design work. We've met a couple of times. All the staff have seen their particular space, and so it is acceptable. It's designed about what, some wanted chairs, some didn't want chairs, some wanted a bookcase here or there. All that was done. There may be some slight modifications going forward once we get this back to the architect for location of utility, data and electric outlets and things like that. So there may be some minor modification of this, but this is largely it. We did have an allowance of, at the beginning of this project, of $200,000 for furniture for the whole thing. Phase one cost, including installation, is $120,485. We would look to bring back the phase two proposal probably somewhere in January. But right now, it's the lead time for this work, and if we're looking to be done by the end of December with phase one, this lead time will allow the furniture to get here. And so with that, we would request that the council adopt or approve the furniture one phase plan as presented. And the overall project, we estimate the furniture-wise will be somewhere between 10 and 15% below what the allowance was early on. And so if there are questions about what's proposed, be happy to answer those for you.
Do we have any, say flexibility, like maybe some extra furniture or something built in here? Like, let's say one person says, I want a bookshelf. Next person that comes in, takes that office, says, I don't need the bookshelf, or vice versa. They'd say they don't want a bookshelf, next person does, or they want an L-shaped desk, next person doesn't. I guess how much flexibility do we have?
So we have quite a bit. In fact, for example, the building official, he's over in a temporary office over here. We're gonna move his stuff, because he likes it, over to his office, because he'll relocate over here. That stuff is available to go into one of the new offices. So we will, if we need to buy a piece of furniture here or there as we go, and once I think people get into the space, it'll be like, oh yeah, we could add that, and there'll be capacity in here to do that. Mm-hmm. But it shouldn't be much. Really try to identify in the front end what we're going to get and need.
You know where this furniture is coming from?
She did a state bid. I don't know the exact supplier, but they work with 3 different furniture companies, and it's all state bid pricing. If you would like me to find the final vendor, I'm happy to do that.
No, the only reason I'm asking, cause you talked about the end of the year and with the strike on right now is, depending upon how long that lasts, is that gonna affect us?
Hopefully you had domestic furniture.
That's why I was asking.
Mike, I will look at that and let you know.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, when we let her know, I'll let her know tomorrow, depending on what the council decides, and I will ask that question.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Any other questions? Otherwise, how do we wish to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve the Phase 1 furniture plan as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. Okay, consent agenda, Mr. LaRue as well.
Council members, items for approval on tonight's consent agenda include the hiring and termination report, Resolution 2483, a resolution approving health insurance contributions and coverage options, Resolution 24-83, a resolution approving dental insurance contributions and coverage options, Resolution 2488, a resolution appointing additional election judges for the 2024 general election, approve change order number 1 for the Police Department City Hall project in the amount of $739.35. Approve pay request number 4 in the amount of $610,860.82 to OMG Midwest for the 2024 street improvement project. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Council, how do we wish to proceed?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Payment of the bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion and a second to pay the bills. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, anniversary announcements. I don't have a sheet. We have none? No October birthdays, huh?
Birthdays is one thing, anniversaries is
Anniversaries.
another.
I meant work birthdays.
I'm like, whoa.
Alrighty, does anybody have anything else for the betterment of Becker? I'll borrow the mayor's line there.
And we adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion to adjourn in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned 5:32 PM. Exec session will start shortly.
Yeah.